My guest today is Catherine Anaya.
This was a pinch me moment like nothing else. I think that's why I really try to be as authentic as possible in my storytelling.
Yeah.
And I open the card and it says, "Dear Catherine." I still get emotional.
It's okay, yeah.
Thank you for saving my life. It shows the power of a good story, of good journalism, and of connecting with your viewers.
I just have goosebumps.
I know. It's the best way I can explain it is you're champagne and I need beer. And I let that sit for a minute because I thought, what? And then I understood, you're not right for this job.
Yeah.
It wasn't the right fit. It wasn't the right time. It wasn't supposed to be.
For 2 decades, I've helped brands earn credibility through PR. Now I'm turning the mic on the storytellers themselves. I'm Melissa Dijon-Filippo, founder and CEO of Proof Publicity, and this is Off Deadline, the real stories of reporters, hosts, and media insiders beyond the byline.
Welcome to Off Deadline. I'm Melissa Dijon-Filippo, and my guest today is Catherine Anaya. Welcome, Catherine.
Thank you. Good to see you, Melissa.
Good to see you,
It's been a while.
I know. Catherine Anaya is a 3-time Emmy Award-winning journalist and the host of Horizonte on Arizona PBS, a weekly show exploring issues impacting Arizona's Hispanic communities. With more than 35 years as a journalist and on TV, including 12 years at CBS 5 Phoenix, she has interviewed everyone from President Obama at the White House to legendary broadcaster Walter Cronkite. Catherine is a member of the Silver Circle for Broadcast Excellence, an award-winning columnist, and a community leader recognized as an Arizona Latina trailblazer. Wow.
Wow.
You've done a lot of things.
Well, you did a great job. I'm not used to being on this side.
That's why you're here. And thank you for letting me take you behind the scenes, let people see behind the scenes.
Thank you.
For being willing to get a little vulnerable and talk about you.
Well, you're
today.
doing such a great job. I'm just so happy to be part of it. So thanks for inviting me.
You're very welcome. I always like to start with the backstory because I've been doing PR in the Valley for 20 years. So since 2005, I've been back here, but I grew up here. And I've watched you on the news for a long time. And I remember billboards with your a pixie haircut and just
Yes.
so many moments. You have a very memorable personality and face. And I've gotten to know you off camera too, which has been a joy. But tell me, how did you even start? Was it in your blood? Was it always a passion? What was that?
I actually started by wanting to be a print journalist.
Okay.
So going back to high school, I love to read and I love to write. So naturally, that was a progression for me. So I was writing for the Daily Trojan at USC when I was in college. And complete fluke. One of my editors just said one day, "Have you ever thought of broadcasting?" And I hadn't, because even though I watched the news with my mom religiously growing up, there was never anybody who looked like me on TV.
Yeah.
So why would I ever think that that would be a career choice for me? So when he said that, there was something about it that just stuck. And I did my research, and then I started getting a subscription to Broadcasting Magazine, and I was just diving into the whole industry. And I became fascinated with it because there's a lot of writing involved in what we do in broadcasting, which people don't understand. They just think we stare at a teleprompter and read it. But that's how I really became interested in it. And then I took my first internship at KNBC in Los Angeles, and that was it. That was all it took. It ended up being a series of internships, and off I went.
So someone told you, try this, and you listened.
Yeah,
which,
I did.
What a blessing.
Really.
And that changed the whole course. And did you then ever since that moment stay in that career?
Yes, I have not deviated.
Wow.
So I've been doing it since I graduated from college. Well, if you want to count my internships before.
Yeah.
But I took my first on-air job in 1990, and I graduated in 1989. So
Wow, right away.
Not quite right away, because I thought I'm in the largest market in the country. I should really take advantage of this and hone my skills a little bit. So because I was working behind the scenes at various stations, second largest market in the country, I should correct myself, I decided to just take my time and really shadow the reporters that I'd become friends with, the editors who would put my tapes together. We did tapes back then.
Wow, yeah.
And just really take advantage of that experience that I was getting in such a large market.
Yeah.
So it was probably a little less than a year, and then I took off.
That's great, though. That probably gave you a lot of confidence in the choices that
so.
then you made, you know?
Well, I needed it too because my first job was anchoring morning news in a very small border town in Texas, where I was the solo anchor. I had to write, produce, run my own prompter by myself. And keep in mind, I had never done this before.
Of it. Yeah.
So, I look back on my youth and I think, God, I wish I still had a lot of that fearlessness, before we had
Kids
and responsibilities
mortgages
and kids. And because I think to myself, I was more interested in doing it and failing than never doing it and regretting that.
Yeah. But that's a beautiful thing to have done, like had a chance to do. Because I think of that way for me too. Like if I had not been 25 when I started my first business and I didn't have any real responsibility, like or any real mortgage or like, I don't know if I would have ever taken that leap, because you get into that and you get scared. So it's so beautiful when you recognize like you had that fearlessness, even if you don't have it anymore. Like not everyone even takes that step.
Yes, I think I still have it.
Yeah.
I just, I'm just at that phase in my life now where my personal time is more important to me now than having to prove anything to myself, if that makes sense.
That makes so much. And I'm going to double down on that point for you, because I respect it so much. When I reached out to you for season 1 of this, you were like, I want to do this, but I'm available in September or October because I'm taking the summer off. And I was like, go you. Because we talked off air about this, but like you have a daughter that's getting married in a year. You have a son who graduated from ASU this summer or this, recently. You travel with your husband, like you prioritize your personal time. And that is such a great example.
It took me a long time to get there, a very long time. But I am in that place right now where, you look at your life where the clock is now ticking down. And so it's like, how do I want to spend these years of my life? Yeah. And I want to spend them enjoying the things that fill my heart, because I've already done everything that I've ever wanted to do with my career. So I don't need to prove anything to myself in that respect. And my family is everything to me. And so I leave for the summer for 2 months and I really go, you'll see me obviously posting on Instagram, but I more or less go off the grid in that I don't talk to anybody because I have all these new friends where I go. Yeah. And so it's like, that's my summer life. Yeah. And I just lean into it big time.
Good for you. Well, thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
Now we're going to talk about all the things that have happened in your career, kind of personal and professionally, that have shaped you to become who you are today.
Thanks. So
what story in all of your history so far has shifted how you see your work?
How I see my work. That's interesting because I don't know if there's one story. I'm writing my memoir right now. I've been writing it for a little while. I don't know if I'll publish it, but I want it to be for my kids because they don't know my life before they entered it. And as I'm piecing things together, I'm remembering some of the milestones in my career that you just kind of forget. Yeah. And if you're like me, you're constantly dealing with what's in front of you or what's ahead of you. And once you complete a task, you're on to the next one. And I don't think for the longest time in my career, I gave myself a chance to digest, like, who have you just talked to? What have you just covered? What have you just done? So I think right now I'm just appreciating this month, this October, will be 35 years. Wow. 35 years is a long time. My biggest regret is that I didn't journal during those years because now I'm realizing there's so much that I don't remember, which is why it's taking me so long to finish the book, because I have to talk to other people now. Yeah. I have to interview other people.
Yeah, to get the story.
Yes, yes.
Wow. And first of all, love the idea of a memoir, whether or not you publish it, because that is such a gift for your kids. But that's a great answer. I really appreciate you sharing that.
Thank you.
Yeah. What's the hardest thing this profession has thrown at you so far?
Well, that would have to be the insecurity. Mm-hmm. The insecurity that comes with it, which, when you tune into somebody on TV, you assume that with the makeup and the hair and the clothes, it's all glamorous and it's anything but. It's hard work. The biggest challenge, I think, is early on, you have to start in these small markets because you're climbing the ladder in the industry. So it's constant moving around. And then when you get to a market where you have contracts, you think you're signing a 2-3 year contract and you can set roots down, but really it ends up being year to year because they usually have outs in them.
And they can trade you, right?
Yeah,
Can't they?
At the end of a year, they can say, well, we don't want you anymore. And yeah, you had a 3-year contract, but they had the outs every year. Now, once you get further in your career, you can negotiate those outs to be out.
Yes, you can protect yourself more.
Right. But for the better part of my career, I didn't have that. And so there's always this feeling of insecurity of, how long am I going to be here?
Yeah.
And you're trying to start a family. You're trying to set your roots somewhere.
Yeah.
I remember when I got to LA, that was my 4th market. And my husband at the time, he said, had I known this was how it was going to be, I don't think I would have married you.
Wow.
And that's a hard thing to hear, but bless his heart, I totally get it.
Yeah.
Because, we were moving all of the time.
Yeah.
And so when we came back to Phoenix, that was kind of a blessing for me because I was, okay, now I'm anchoring 3 newscasts a day. I've got a locked in contract. And now I'm not seeing my kids. They're older, and I'm not seeing my kids, I at night. So I wake up in the morning, give them breakfast, take them to school, go to work by 1:30, and I'm not home till 11 o'clock at night. So now I don't see them till the next day.
Yeah.
And then I have nannies. After I'm divorced, I have to have nannies.
Of course.
And I didn't even realize how traumatic that was going to be on my kids when they're attaching to somebody and then they end up leaving for whatever reason, go back to school, move, what have you. It's a lot. It takes a lot on you. It takes a toll on your family. Yeah. And I just didn't realize any of that. Not that I would have changed what I did, but maybe I would have just been more aware of, really carving time for family and making that a priority. And it took me a long time to get there.
Yeah. I really appreciate you sharing that. And I did listen to an interview you did before. And just because I know some of your personal story, I hope you don't mind that I ask this question. I know when your ex-husband passed away, I believe that was the time that you made it a choice to not continue on air full time, correct?
Right.
And that was still a very high point in your career, right?
It's been 10 years, if you can believe that.
That's about right, I guess, but that's crazy. And you're still clearly crushing it. You're doing so many things, but you were tired essentially at that point. But the choice to be with your kids during that time, that was the impetus, correct?
Correct.
You saw that. So you had the foresight to know that at that point.
Well, I had already been feeling that struggle internally. I didn't talk about it a lot. I talked about it with my mom and my husband because I was newly married and I wanted to be home for dinner with my family.
You had different priorities.
Yes.
Yeah.
And my son needed help with homework. My husband's running a business. My daughter's getting ready to apply to colleges. It was just, I was really feeling like that's where I wanted to be. That's where I needed to spend my energy. And then when my ex-husband passed away, it was like, could it become more clear that this is where I have to be? They need somebody to guide them, first of all, through their grief and be there for them, be present. But secondly, my daughter was going off to college and my son was going into 7th grade.
I have a 7th
those
grader.
years.
You're right. And dealing with grief and the sister is no longer at home and all of those things.
It's a pivotal point. And I did not want to regret that I was not there. And God forbid he would go down, a different road. I was very involved. He didn't like it because all of a sudden mom's up in my business and, she hadn't been.
Yeah.
It was difficult, but we got through it and
good for you.
I don't regret a single second.
Yeah. And that, I just want to say, as you called yourself a type A, I say type A psychopath. That's what I call myself. And really, it's led to my success. And I wouldn't change what I do for the world. I love my job and I love my kids. They're just both things that exist. I can imagine that feeling of it's almost like a piece of you, you're just stopping. And you didn't stop it, you picked it up. But at the moment, you're giving up a big piece of you because that other piece is so important. And I just have so much respect for that because I get it, you
Thanks.
know?
I know you do. And I was ready. I did not think I would be returning to TV. I had no plans to do that. I would, maybe freelance here or there, MC events, which I still do.
Yeah.
I've been blessed that I have these opportunities to still do what I love to do, but on a part-time basis.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah,
thank you for
thank
sharing
you.
that. Yeah. When did you see your reporting change someone's life? Maybe it was one story or one person that you had a chance to tell this story that wouldn't have been told otherwise.
So this is a good story. So this would be in the mid-90s. My news director at Channel 12 here in Phoenix wanted to launch a breast cancer awareness program called Buddy Check 12.
Okay.
And he asked me to be the face of the campaign. The idea behind it was to encourage women to do their breast self-exams once a month. So that's why it was Buddy Check 12. You would choose a buddy, your mom, your sister, your husband, whoever it was, to hold you accountable on the 12th of every month. I would front a story relating to breast cancer, and then I would remind viewers, it's the 12th of the month. Don't forget to check in with your buddy. My mom was my buddy, and that's how we launched the campaign, a big promotional campaign.
Yeah.
I started getting letters and emails from people saying that they were finding lumps. They were going into the doctor because they found something unusual. Sometimes it was cancer, sometimes it wasn't. People were really connecting to this campaign.
Wow, I just have goosebumps.
I know, it's
Yeah.
amazing. And one day I'm sitting in the newsroom and there's a flower delivery for me. It's beautiful, dozen yellow roses. And I open the card and it says, "Dear Catherine." I still get emotional.
It's okay, yeah.
Thank you for saving my life. I was watching you on the 12th of last month, and I did my breast self-exam, and I found something, and I went and I had it checked out, and it turns out I have breast cancer, but I caught it early enough that I'm going to survive. And she said, if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be here, so thank you for saving my life. And I was like, what?
That is like...
I know.
What a amazing feeling, that something that you can't even have the foresight to think it's going to be that big of a deal. Like, you literally saved someone's life.
Well, it shows the power of a good story, of good journalism, and of connecting with your viewers. I think that's why I really try to be as authentic as possible in my storytelling.
Yeah.
But she and I ended up doing a follow-up story with her. So she was one of my features on the 12th of a month. But we still exchange holiday cards to this day. Yeah, and she's still in my life.
That's the coolest thing about local journalism. The connection you build with viewers. And a million people probably feel like they know you and they're your friend and you don't even know them. But that is so powerful, that connection that you don't even know you're building until you get that letter. And it probably goes the reverse too. With social media, I imagine you get comments that you're like, really? Thanks. and letters or emails. And you probably had to learn to just turn it off and manage that. But the good must outweigh the bad a million times.
It completely does. And funny you mentioned social media, because I was thinking to myself as I'm telling you this story that there is power in television. And even though we don't watch it the same way anymore, it's usually on our phones, there's still power in good storytelling, as through your own work.
Yes, you're very right. Have you witnessed something on the job that was difficult to process emotionally?
Lots of stories, but the one that stands out for me is 9/11. I was anchoring live on the air when 9/11 happened, and the information was coming in slowly, and all we knew at that point was that a small plane had hit a building in New York City. And then when the second plane hit, then we knew we're being attacked. And that was horrific, devastating to have to continue to talk about this on the air. And probably you watched it. How everything
I was in my freshman in college, and I was in Ohio. My mom was like, she was here and freaking out, and that must be a crazy feeling too. A kid across the country, but I can't even fathom being in the newsroom or live on air. Information's coming in little by little. You really don't know what's happening. You also are probably processing emotionally, but you have to be pulled together.
Well, and I'm processing it, and all I want to do is go home and hug my family.
Yeah,
and I can't, because your first job is your job, especially when you're live on the air. But one thing I did do is I journaled that day, and I haven't journaled regularly, and I'm so upset about that. But I did journal my feelings on that day, and I also journaled about how my daughter described how they handled it at school because she was in kindergarten.
Yeah.
But I remember thinking, if anything ever happened to us, I don't want her to be alone. So it was that prompted me to have another child.
Wow.
And my son was born a year later.
Wow.
Yeah, that was why.
That is amazing. I mean, and a very like scary moment to have that realization. But wow. And I imagine you've had a lot of other competing moments that are just as challenging. Like the things that you guys see, and you were a field reporter too, obviously at some point, right? You weren't always an anchor. So you had to go.
I've always been an anchor, but I did do a lot of field reporting when I was in LA, and also towards the end of my first stint in Phoenix.
Okay. Yeah. So you saw crime scenes and things. Like, it just amazes me how you have to just move on and do the best you can when you see those things. But it's not easy.
Yeah. I mean, if we make it look easy, it's because we're doing our job.
Yeah.
But it's really not. Especially I found when I became a mom, it was really hard for me when something involved children or a parent losing a child. I still to this day think that in a previous life, I lost a child because it connects to me on a cellular level.
Wow.
Like I cannot get through an interview without crying.
Yeah.
And early in your career, you're taught not to be emotional and vulnerable like that.
Yeah.
But I think that in time, I learned that it was okay, and I gave myself the grace to do that. And I think it makes me a better journalist and connector with people.
Yeah. Vulnerability is the number one thing that makes people like you and believe you and trust you. And there's certainly a balance, like, but you're a pro. And it's interesting that they don't teach you that in school. And then I've heard from a lot of journalists, they say, then you learn to unlearn everything they taught you in school and be yourself and be comfortable and talk in your voice and wear the clothes you want to wear. It's also like, sometimes a tear is fine.
It is. It is. And you know what? When you're on this side of things, which I'm not very often, but when I am, I mean, you just want to talk to somebody who you truly feel like it has empathy for you.
Yes.
Feels what you're saying, that you're not just a body or a face or a number.
Yeah.
That you are a human being and you have human emotions.
Yeah. That's a great thing to remember. Which win in your career flew under the radar but is a really big deal to you?
Co-hosting or co-anchoring, I should say, a post-presidential debate with Walter Cronkite.
Yeah, tell me about that.
In my intro. This was a pinch me moment like nothing else. So we did this post-presidential debate in 2004, and I was co-anchoring with him. And I was so nervous because, hello, the most trusted anchor in America forever. He was retired at this point.
Yeah.
But he kept insisting that I call him Walter, and I could not do it. I'm like, I can't. You're Mr. Cronkite. He was great. He was kind. He was gracious. And after we were done, he turned to me and he said, they told me you'd be great. They were right. And I thought, oh, I can die now. I can die. And I had read his memoir a couple years earlier, so I had his book with me, and I asked him to sign it. And he signed to Catherine, a skilled journalist, great working with you, or something to that effect. And I thought, oh, I can die again.
God, what a good feeling. And like to have an idol or someone that you respected his work so much, and he's local in the Valley, like what a cool feeling.
It was great.
Yeah.
It was really great. Hard to top that.
Oh, for sure. But you also, you've done a lot of crazy things, I'm sure. What not so serious hobby or habit might surprise people about you?
Well, I did post it on social media, so maybe it's not that surprising, but I have 2 guitars.
Okay.
I have an acoustic and an electric, and I started taking guitar lessons in January. I'm very slow because I don't have enough practice time. But I'm learning power chords, and I'm learning a Journey song because that's my husband's favorite band, so I want to surprise him with a Journey song.
Don't Stop? Is it Don't Stop Believing?
No. It's Separate Ways.
Oh, that's a great one, too. Yeah.
I try to pick the easiest one.
Yeah.
But I'm learning, little bits of other songs like Crazy Train.
Oh, my God.
Brain Stew.
How fun. I took guitar lessons from an early age, but I was always embarrassed to play in front of people. And so I kind of stopped in high school, and I still have a guitar, and I love to play. But when you have nails,
That's why these are shorter than
I
these.
know. So like my kids was like, play. And I'm like, I mean, it's a choice. I have to cut my nails. But I love the freedom I love music. I think music's like such a good release. I'm not like, I can't sing. If I could, I would never be off a stage. That'd be my favorite thing in the world.
Me too. Yeah. I would sing, I would dance. Yes. I can't do either. My mom was a professional singer, so I grew up around music.
Oh, so you have some music talent. Wow.
I don't. But I can karaoke very well.
Oh, I mean, I'll do the Grapevine with you anytime, or at the Grapevine in Old Town. I'm there. Not by myself, but in a group.
Okay.
Sure. Okay, now we're into rapid fire. So your job is just to say the first thing that comes to mind. Okay. What's your go-to comfort food, drink, or ritual when the pressure's on?
Oh, that's easy. Nachos.
Ooh.
I'm a nacho snob. I can tell you all the best places in town for nachos.
What's the number one favorite?
Habaneros.
Okay.
Which is where I go to almost on a weekly basis to unwind after a long week. It's on Scottsdale and Shea.
Ooh.
And it is hands down the best nachos in town.
Good to know.
Fresh.
And you get it like with fully loaded? Or?
I get chicken nachos, black beans, light cheese, guacamole, pico de gallo, and it's actually not that unhealthy.
No, because you said light cheese.
Yes, I tell them light cheese, easy on the cheese.
Cheese is the best part for me. What's the wildest rumor you've ever heard about yourself?
Oh, this is a good one. I think it was in the mid-2000s. There was a talk show DJ, kind of a shock jock type of DJ. And he went on the radio one morning and he said that I had plastic surgery because I had all this makeup on TV. And he was right about the makeup, but not about the plastic surgery.
Yeah.
I have never had plastic surgery.
Yeah.
Not that I'm against it.
No,
it's just not something that I desire to do. But I was wearing a lot of makeup because I had the pregnancy mask with my son. So I had melasma, the hyperpigmentation. So I had all these brown spots on my face. I was taking medication, but it takes a while to go away.
Yeah.
So I would have to put extra layers of foundation because I had to even it out.
Yeah.
I think we were in high def at this point, so it was like really scary. So I probably did look like I was overdone.
Yeah.
But I remember I said to my boss, he said that I had plastic surgery. I think I should do a story on melasma. She was like, no, just let it go. Okay, if you do a story on melasma, now you're drawing attention to it. I'm like, okay.
That's got to be hard, though, just to hear things like that. And like back then, it wasn't like a social media comment that you could like, respond to publicly, like I don't know, it just felt really different.
No, you didn't have social media, so I couldn't say.
Could get on your stories and be like,
this is what I look like without makeup. This is why I wear a lot of it.
Yeah, but different today. What's the strangest thing you've ever put on an expense report?
I wouldn't say it's strange, but definitely unconventional. So I was working with somebody at Channel 12 in the mid-90s, and we were not getting along.
Okay.
Never happened to me before that. So we're not getting along, and the boss says, I would like you two to go to dinner once a month. You can expense it, but I need you to work on this relationship.
Wow.
Yeah. Bold move, right?
Right.
So we're having it on. I don't want to go to dinner with her. So we go, and probably after 4, it's actually working. We're getting along much better. And so we decide that the next dinner we're going to do is going to be at Ruth's Chris.
Oh, smart.
So we had the dinner of all dinners, and we submit the expense report, and then we get called into the office, and she said, clearly those dinners are working. They're done.
Yeah, I love that. What a smart move, though.
Yeah,
like, I'm going to think about that in the future for like, employees or people in my life that I just can be like, go work it out.
Yeah.
Figure it out.
Spend some time together away from here.
Yeah. If I weren't in this career,
I would be an author because I will have finished my book.
Love it.
And I would own a bookstore because I cannot find enough time to read all the books I want to read. And I love bookstores. And I would teach spin again.
That's how I've taken her spin class. It's good.
And your dad has too.
Yes.
And I would maybe get yoga certified because I love hot yoga.
Nice.
Yeah, but there's a lot of hours you have to put into it.
So many. When you talk about books, is it the physical book you want, or can you do Audible?
So I have been doing Kindle for probably 10 years. This past summer, I did only hardcover. And the reason I did Kindle is because I can read it at any time of the day and any light. I love going back to hardback.
I do too. No,
Yeah.
that's why I had to ask. I also, if I'm doing Audible, I'm on my phone. And I don't want the distraction because I will just...
Okay, here's what I do. I read the book and I listen to a biography because I love biographies on Audible. So I can listen to those when I'm driving and I can pay attention.
Yep.
I mean, I'm still paying attention.
Of course.
To the road,
Oh, no,
but I'm
I
listening.
do podcasts. I listen to podcasts when I drive, yeah.
But this way I can knock out 2 books in usually a week.
Smart. I'm going to use that trick. Advice you'd give to someone starting in your career today?
I would say trust the process. First of all, don't be, afraid to start small. I mean, we all have to start somewhere. But trust the process because there are jobs that you will want and not get. And there will be jobs that you love. And I think you just have to trust that when you don't get that job, it doesn't mean that you're not talented. It just means that you weren't the right fit at that time.
Yeah.
There's something better waiting for you down the road, whatever, to just have patience. When I was in Los Angeles and I wanted to go work for a competing station, I really wanted to work there because I had a bunch of friends there and the news director and I got along really well.
Yeah.
And the only job he had open was a morning reporter job.
Okay.
Now, keep in mind, it had been anchoring, 10 years at this point.
Yeah.
And I really, really wanted that job. And he didn't give it to me. And he said, the best way I can explain it is you're champagne and I need beer. And I let that sit for a minute because I thought, what? And then I understood, you're not right for this job.
Yeah. Your trajectory is something else.
Yes. And thank goodness, because I think it was a month later that I came back to Phoenix, which, I ended up experiencing the best years of my career here, coming back.
Yeah.
But it wasn't the right fit. It wasn't the right time. It wasn't supposed to be.
Yeah.
And that's a tough thing to learn when you're challenged, but you just have to remember that there's a reason for why it's happening. And even though it feels lousy at the time, something better is waiting for you. There's a quote I saw years ago that I like to refer to, and I don't even remember who said it, but it's every test is a testimony and every mess is a message.
Ugh, that's a good one.
So I try to remember that.
Yeah. I so appreciate you being here today, Catherine. Thank you for
this. Yeah.
Thanks for taking the time.
Thank you.
Yeah.